Lately, I found that when playing a video game from a very long-running series, I usually don't care what type of game it is or how it's designed as long as it's fun. Though many have expressed their clear hatred for it, Resident Evil 6 was actually very enjoyable for my friends and I personally think it has the best Mercenaries co-op mode. That said, I can understand why many people were displeased by what RE6 did, with how it built from RE5's example of action mixed with light survival horror, to completely bucking the survival horror part in favor of cinematic action horror. Though Leon's campaign did have some genuinely good survival horror moments. I couldn't shake the feeling that a lot of these criticisms came from the fact that Resident Evil long established itself as a survival horror series, and even the bombastic Resident Evil 4 had its fair share of scary moments and survival horror elements. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with RE6, as it has amazing production values, excellent voice acting, ambitious co-op play, and an easy-to-follow story that intertwines between the multiple campaigns. However, a part of me agrees with the echoed sentiment that it would be better if it wasn't called Resident Evil. This sentiment has been previously expressed for Operation Raccoon City, another game that placed more emphasis on action than traditional survival horror. While criticisms are subjective and game series are free to expand whichever way they want, it doesn't appeal to fans very well when a game series, known for one thing, suddenly starts doing something else entirely. In other cases, it might not even be the gameplay that changed much at all, but rather the aesthetic or characterization received an overhaul. Think of the new DMC Devil May Cry compared to the previous Devil May Cry games. Many would have you believe that what annoyed fans was merely the hair color of Dante no longer being white, but it actually goes much deeper than that. How Dante was characterized, the change in art style and level design, the Hollywood-style storyline, you name it. People had a variety of reasons to dislike DMC. I personally enjoyed the game regardless, and I warmed up to the new Dante in the end, even managing to enjoy the game for what it was, and its very deep combat. Regardless, many believe that they would have been happier with this game overall if it wasn't called Devil May Cry, and if it was instead a new IP based on or inspired by Devil May Cry. People often feel that new game mechanics, changed characters, or an overall massive change ruin what made original games in the series good, or even what defined the series in the first place. Even when a new game is received a lot better than games I've already mentioned, there's still that problem as a byproduct of people feeling like it's not the same series anymore. Hitman Absolution and Splinter Cell Conviction are both excellent, fun games which streamlined the series' gameplay and upped the spectacle in many good ways. However, longtime fans of the series believe that these games have betrayed them and departed from their roots in favor of over-the-top action, which isn't as good as what it used to be. Many say that Conviction is a great video game, but just not a great Splinter Cell game, which you can take however you want. To cite a recent example, think of the Tomb Raider reboot in 2013. It was critically acclaimed and received well by fans and newcomers alike, but many still called it an Uncharted clone, and proceeded to dislike it based on its altered gameplay. It's important to note that often gamers, not all, but some, don't seem to know what they want. They cry and moan whenever a series like Call of Duty or FIFA never change, but then they also complain just as much when a series changes too much. There's a belief that innovation is what's needed for games, yet it's not exactly innovation that's selling the most copies of popular games. That's a point that's not necessarily gospel truth, but it does have something to do with the complaints about series changing. A game series that's years old will eventually have to try and branch out, think of new ideas, or incorporate new mechanics. Sticking like glue to tradition, for its own sake, may appeal to fans for a while, but it runs the danger of growing stale. So eventually, developers will want to try and take a leap of faith, do something different with their IP that has never been done before, and this is often met with relative success. In a way, a series name can sometimes hold the game back, when the developer tries to be innovative or change the game entirely. Gears of War is known for its fast-paced third-person shooter gameplay and cover system, with its very unique control scheme that players have, grown into over the course of 3 games. That's why when Gears of War Judgment was released, many fans were not happy at all with what had been done to the many core aspects of the gameplay. Let's imagine for the moment that the game wasn't called Gears of War, and instead it was a different IP based on Gears and developed by Epic Games. It would have probably been seen in a better light. Probably. In the end, I'm not here to debate whether or not certain sequels of games are better or worse than their predecessors, since in the end, it's all subjective. I have my own opinions of games like Final Fantasy XIII, which are dynamically different from the games in the series past, and I have my own likes and dislikes about them. But what I've definitely noticed is how the brand name can actually work to the series' detriment when it tries to be too different from its original gameplay, and sometimes it might be better to abandon the name altogether if developers want to try something new. For all the complaints about COD's sameness, I imagine people will be more concerned if the series suddenly started adding fantasy and magical elements or played like a card game. Then again, there are those out there who welcome change no matter what it is and won't begrudge a game for doing something completely outlandish. Iconic games can gain attention through prestige alone, and this is a good thing, but can also be a double-edged sword when they try to change anything.